Yeah, Moonla, what's up? I'm Maëlla Kancel. I'm the founder of the Karukiramon podcast, and I also run the blog karukiramon.com, where you can find all my reviews about Caribbean cinema, Caribbean literature, and Caribbean music.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Carry On Friends. And I'm excited about this new Where Are They Now segment that I'm doing. And I'm excited to bring back Maëlla on the podcast. And before I get to her, I want to tell you why I wanted to bring her back on the podcast. Her episode gave me so many comments and feedback. One, people were not familiar with anyone from the Caribbean country she's from or territory. And what she spoke about resonated a lot with people. So she's from Guadeloupe, and most people at the time they were like, I've never heard of Guadeloupe. One person said that, and one person was like, I've never heard of anyone from Guadeloupe. I've never met anyone from there. So that alone in terms of impact was just amazing just to have her as a voice. Also, it was one of her first English speaking podcasts, and I was just honored to have her on the podcast. And we talked a lot about culture. And I want to catch up with her to see if what she talked about pertaining to culture then, what it looks like now, and a bunch of other things. So, Maela, thank you so much for being back on the podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. Well, I'm fine. I'm doing good.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, why don't you give catch us up? What has been going on since the last time you've been on the podcast? What's new with you?
So when we recorded the episode, I only had one podcast. It was Karukiramon, and it was about the representation of the Caribbean in cinema and television. And I had Karukiramon in French and Karukiramon the English version. And since then, I launched a podcast about Caribbean literature, more specifically about Caribbean romance. It's called Tim Tim Boafik, and I mainly interviewed authors, Caribbean authors who happens also to write romance because I'm really interested in romance and our definition of love, our definition of romantic relationship, our definition of masculinity, femininity from a Caribbean perspective. So that's what I'm doing through the Caribbean literature lens. And I also have a podcast about Caribbean music, and it's more about thinking about marketing strategies and business strategies to build strong Caribbean music industry. And my music podcast is called hashtag Stream Caribbean.
Wow. All right. So, you've been really busy, and I'm extremely proud of you for really just diving in, leaning into all of the things that mean a lot to you. I'll make sure I put a link to the past episode because music means a lot to you. We talked a lot about music in our last episode, and to see that you are creating content around the things that you enjoy, but also creating dialogue on the things that are the changes you want to see in terms of how Caribbean culture is marketed, how successful it is compared to K-pop, and the strategy you outlined that what K-pop did in order to be this global phenomenon. So I guess my next question is, what do you think has changed in terms of Caribbean culture being big? So we recorded this in 2022, 2021, 22. Now we're in 2024.
No, it was earlier.
Really?
It was yes, it was earlier. It was in September 2020.
I I'm telling you, COVID did a number on us. But yes, wow. So, what have you seen change in terms of Caribbean culture in all forms of media? You do music, you're talking books, you're talking TV. What have you seen changed, and what do you think the role continues to be for consumers to make our culture big?
Well, I think that there have been some changes in terms of recognition For instance, in France right now, we talked about Zouk, I think, in the in the episode we recorded, and now artists are more into saying they claim Zouk, although they might not be Zouk artists, but now French Caribbean artists are okay with saying that, yeah, Zouk is from Guadeloupe, Zouk is from Martinique, and it's in their music roots. So I think that has changed. And also, I think the word Caribbean actually start meaning something for them. Before it was just, oh yeah, we are Caribbean because being West Indian, the word West Indian in French or in France, it was negative. It had a negative image behind it. So they started using the word Caribbean, but I felt at that time, I felt like it didn't mean that they were connecting themselves to the rest of the Caribbean countries. And since 2024, I feel like there's a change of mentality and in the way they approach their marketing strategy. For instance, now I see more and more music videos being subtitled. And I spent like 3 years saying, y'all should put subtitles in your videos, not French subtitles. At least the Creole subtitles or the English translations. So I see that. And for music, you have the Caribbean Music Awards now. And I did an interview with Dane Taylor. He's the CEO of the Caribbean Music Awards. And we talked about how they want to be more inclusive when it comes to French Caribbean artists, but it's kind of hard for them because it's hard to identify French Caribbean artists for now, but we're going to change that. And in terms of cinema, uh, I've been, I think, every year since we recorded this episode, I went at least once to the movies to watch a film from Guadeloupe or from Martinique, which never happened before that. So there are more films coming from Martinique and Guadeloupe. I feel like filmmakers no longer wait to get validation from France to find funding and to just to create their art. They just go for it. And in terms of literature, I'm still working on it. Music was my main focus for the past 2 years, and now I'm going to move to literature. So I cannot really speak about it for now. But for instance, Marie Condé, I did a reading challenge in 2021 because I realized that she was really big, and I had read like 3 or 4 books by her at that time. So I decided to read all her books just to figure out why she was so celebrated. And celebrated outside of Guadeloupe, but I felt like in Guadeloupe and in France, she wasn't celebrated as much as she should have been. So that was in 2021, and she died in April 2024. But in Guadeloupe, it was the year of Marie Condé. So basically, started from September 2023 up to by the end of 2024, they had already planned to celebrate her, to honor her work. So she died knowing that her country, her island, really loved her. And I think it was really important for her because if you read her interviews from the 90s and maybe the early 2000s, you can see how much she loved Guadeloupe, but she didn't feel like she fit in the in the society because she was kind of extraordinary. But in the same time, as Caribbean people, our individual lives are just out of the ordinary anyway. So it's kind of hard to navigate that, I think. And I'm really happy that she get to see how much we enjoy her literature, and I really hope more and more people will read her books because she has a wonderful legacy, and we 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 shouldn't lose that. So yeah, I think that was a long answer, but that was
No,
the main changes I saw.
that was a perfect answer because what I also appreciate, you are bringing most of my audience who are English speaking Caribbean, you're bringing them into the French speaking Caribbean world, helping us to understand that, okay, Caribbean, Dutch, Spanish, English, French, we all have something going on. And so you are, sharing what's happening there with us. So, as we get to wrap up a little bit, how did being on the podcast impact you either personally or professionally?
I think it gave me the confidence to actually talk to people because I was I mean, I don't think I was shy, but I always felt like people didn't care about what I had to say, and I couldn't find people I could connect with. And so when you actually asked me to be on the podcast, I was like, oh, so at least someone cares about what I have to say. And I remember when I did the written interview for the Caribbean Podcast Directory, I said that I would never do interviews, but now I do interviews, and I feel like I'm more confident. And also, I manifested a lot of things in in our interactions back then, and most of them became reality. Like I met Ozan Palsi last year, and we got to talk about like 15-20 minutes, and I remember I said that I would love to interview her. So it wasn't an interview, it was really a discussion, but I know it would be like one of the best memories of this journey, this Caracaraman journey. And I don't think I would have had the courage to walk up to her and talk to her if I hadn't started Caracaraman, if I hadn't talked to you. And yeah, so your podcast helped me to go out there and to talk to people and to connect with people. And I thank you so. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional.
Oh,
You just have no idea how hard it was for me at the time. One thing that changed when we talked back then, I had fibroids, and it hurt a lot. And in 2024, I finally decided to really try to get rid of them. And right now I'm still I had a surgery, and I'm still it went well, but I know if I hadn't had Karukiramo at that time, if I didn't try to talk to people and be like, I matter and I'm enough. I'm so sorry. I wasn't planning to
it's
cry.
no, this is
But yeah, I just want to say that it really changed my life, and it made me want to care about myself as well and to take care of myself as well. So thank you so much.
thank you so much. I'm now it's just like I'm crying. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for believing in me and participating in this stuff. I remember reading the written interview and I was just so blown away by your responses and I was like, I have to talk to her. And so I know a lot of times that we're in our own little corners doing our work and we don't feel like we matter to anyone else or we're not viral or we're not all these other things, but you do have so much to say and I really really really, my hope for you is to continue to say those things regardless, you know don't be self-aware of your accent or anything, nothing, just be you and bring the passion that I know you have when I hear you talk about the things that you're interested in. You you matter. Your work matters. And if you don't
Thank
do it,
you.
you don't set an example for other people to come up and do it. We can't wait for other people to celebrate us or acknowledge us. We have to do that for ourselves. And so you've given me one of the best anniversary gifts, um, because, as you know, I was ready to quit. And so even in this conversation, it's just like, thank you. Thank you for just being part of the family. Thank you for just being you.
Thank you for creating this space because really the Caribbean podcast, um, the Caribbean podcast directory was a way for me to see that I wasn't the only one trying to get my voice out there. And since then, I think a lot of podcasts disappeared. And that's why it's so important that yours is still here because we still need to hear those voices. We still need to get different perspectives on what we can do, on what we can achieve. And also I also realized how how lucky I was that you get to be one of the first persons that I interacted with because you have so much integrity and you're really doing this for the community. So it was easier for me afterwards when I met people to realize if we were on the same page because some people do it just for the fame and for the likes and all that, but other are really doing it for the community. And it the fact that I got to know you first, it made me realize there are people like you as well, and I just want to be with this kind of people. It's just easier to realize this person I want to be with them, this person we're not connecting, so it's okay.
Again, thank you so much. And you're just, when you're telling me all the things that you're doing, like really, really proud and just feeling good that the community, the way that, the reason Caribbean Podcast Directory was intended, still is intended. I may not be as active as I was before. It doesn't mean it goes away. It's just like you said, right? There are different reasons people want to start the podcast. And I just chose to let the directory be where it is and focus on the people who felt like were understood where I was, what I was trying to do with the platform, and was supporting anyway. And I mean, it is the gift that I could only ask for. So I'm so glad to be in community with you. You know, we're always catching up via email, but I wanted the podcast listeners to catch up with you, hear what's happening in your world. I'm going to make sure I drop the link to all the things that you're doing, your social media handle. You've been doing film festivals, all the things. Extremely, extremely proud. So you matter. You are the voice, right, of the French Caribbean in my book, because I don't know anyone else. You are the person that I'm going to always reach out to, right? Because you're the one who put me on to Alain Bedard and all those. I would not have known who he is, right? So you need to take up that space fully and embrace it because you are out here just doing it, doing it, doing it, doing it. All right. So thank you again for this quick catch up. And I'll see you on the internet streets. And until next time, take care, be well, and walk good.
Bye.